Good afternoon. My name is Demarcus Jones. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I'm 44 years old. Um, this is my video interview for Second Call, Georgia. For me, reform represents creating new opportunities for people who are impoverished or in the situation where they don't have the opportunity to move and build for themselves. So for me, reform would not only be changing the criminal justice system, but reform would also be changing the conditions that put us in situations where we enter the justice system. If I had a magic wand, I think I would change systemic racism. Systemic racism is what puts us in these positions where we become criminals, or we begin living criminal elements. This country was founded by the worst of the worst of the Europeans. They cleared their prisons and sent these people to America to be free. And these people were the worst of the worst: the robbers, the rapists, the murderers. You know, they came to this country as the founding fathers. So the so-called founding fathers of our country, they were evil people. These evil people in turn created a constitution that was set up for and by the white man. It wasn't for the white woman or any woman or man of color. Excuse me. So if I had a magic wand, I would change systemic racism, because that is the root of the situation that has been created in the United States of America. I was impacted. I was impacted with the criminal justice system because when I was younger, I think I was 16 years old. I was convicted. Excuse me. I was convicted of armed robbery, and to be transparent, the life I was living, it was only a matter of time before I was introduced to the system. I grew up around the typical poverty. Gangs, drugs, prostitution, illegal activities. These things were normal for me. However, unlike a lot of my peers, I had a mother and a father. My mother and my father, excuse me, my mother and my father were there for me. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. However, I did have a two-parent household, but the lifestyle that attracted me took me away from the things that I was taught. So, with that being said, I chose the street life. I gang banged, sold drugs, many other illicit activities. But at 16 years old, I was incarcerated, armed robbery. Me and a few of my friends ended up being sentenced to 10 years under the Georgia Senate Bill 440, the mandatory minimum. And at the time, the mandatory minimum was 10 years. So I was sentenced to 10 years in prison, a juvenile charge as an adult. As I was going through the system, I was put in a position where I'm basically a boy being raised by the system. The system became my mother and my father. So I had individuals around me, thank God, who told me, don't do this or don't do this or don't be a part of this. So that was a blessing. But at the same time, it's prison. So, I'm fighting, trying to survive, and, become a man. The effect it had on me, I really wasn't aware of it until I was free. But I come back to that. The effect it had on my family, though, my mother and my father, it did something to the two of them mentally, because as parents, they were wondering what they did wrong or what they didn't do. So my mother and father had to deal with the guilt of their son choosing to live a life that they didn't raise me to live. So in essence, me going to prison locked up my mother and my father mentally. I have a brother. My brother, he and I, he and I were very, very close growing up. But my incarceration separated us because I was physically gone for nearly 11 years. We had our ups and our downs. He wrote me, came to visit me at times, but we disagreed a lot on different things because I had a different mentality because of the way I was being raised in prison. I was more firm and aggressive, where a simple thing that weren't even big things, I handled it with so much aggression that it pushed my brother away from me. So prison did something to me mentally because when I came home, I brought that aggression with me. So I was overly aggressive. I didn't laugh a lot. I always was angry, and mentally, I wasn't able to receive love because in prison, you can't trust these people. I'm not saying that everyone in prison is bad, but you gotta think about it. For every innocent man I met in prison, there were 10 others who are completely guilty of the things that they've been accused of. So I'm locked up with murderers, robbers, child molesters, rapists, liars, thieves. So all of this in my environment, these negative spirits are all around me and surrounding me. So I'm being consumed and controlled by these things as well. But with the grace of God, I was able to clear my mind and keep myself focused. And as I said, I had good people around me to help me become a better man and a better person. So I think that the criminal justice system does need reform, but it's funny because criminal justice is an oxymoron. Those two words normally would never even go together. But criminal justice, looking deeper into that, the criminal justice system was created, as I said earlier, by criminals. America was founded on criminal activity, criminal-minded people. So they basically created laws that would keep themselves in order. In order for them to become a successful society, the laws that they broke to found America, they made sure that it would be illegal for other people to use those laws and follow that guideline. So the criminal justice was created to keep criminals in line because, as I said, our society was created by criminals, and our society was not created for people of color nor women. The society is created by white men for white men, and I don't like to bring race into a conversation like this, but it's relevant because people of color are the ones who are being affected by the criminal justice system. Even though we are not the ones who are committing all these so-called crimes, but it is our neighborhoods are looked at as being a haven for these things. When you can go to any black or brown neighborhood and you will find that grandmother, that grandfather, that father, that uncle, that mother, who the whole neighborhood looks up to, who keeps people in order, who is people who may be a certain way, but if they see a certain person, they won't do or act a certain way because of the level of love and respect they have for these people. So the criminal justice system does need to be reformed. It needs to be reformed in a way that it changes the environments that leads us up to incarceration. It needs to be reformed so that those of us who are incarcerated, when we come home, we won't have to go to the same environments that place us into incarceration in the first place. Criminal justice should be more proactive in preventing certain things instead of waiting till certain things have occurred and then punishing people. Because there are a lot of people who steal to eat. There are a lot of people who break the law so that they can feed their families. Even though a lot of people use that as an excuse, there are people who actually break the law in order to make sure that their family can eat, their family can be safe and secure. I think criminal reform should create an environment where people can work and receive livable wages. Because yeah, there are plenty of jobs out here, but some of these jobs that they don't give wages that are livable. So if I have a job and I'm trying to pay my rent or my mortgage, pay my car note, take care of my wife, my kids, my family, I can't do that on $10 or $11 an hour. So a lot of times people are out here trying to do what is right, but because they don't have a livable wage, they start opening their minds to, well, maybe I could do this, I could do this. But if I do this one time, and next thing you know, they're a full-fledged criminal. And I'm not condoning this. I'm not condoning this or saying that it's right. What I'm saying is criminal reform should create situations where we don't have to put ourselves in position to break the law. But society hasn't really fully pressed forward with that because, like I say, there are plenty of jobs, but they don't have livable wages. I don't think that criminal reform is a program that is geared toward helping the people. So back to what you said earlier about if I had a magic wand, I would wave this wand and destroy the systemic racism that founded this country and create a founding group of people, of individuals that really care about us as a family. Because the only way for criminal reform to really work is we have to rebuild the families. You know, the family has been destroyed. The family structure has been destroyed. You know, and this goes back to what I said about systemic racism, because the family aspect is destroyed because a lot of times when these families receive any sort of benefits, the man has to be pushed out of the picture. So if the man is out of the picture, the government tends to help these women and these children. However, if the man is there trying to strive and build and help his family, a lot of times, especially in Georgia, the family can't receive benefits. So it creates a situation where we're struggling, but then my significant other is looking at me like, if you weren't here, we'd be able to get these food stamps. We'd be able to get this housing. But since you're here, we can't afford it and we're struggling. So now the family is at odds with one another. The mother and father are at odds with one another. There's tension in the household. These types of things pushes people to drink, smoke. Man goes out frustrated, goes to a bar, drinks too much, leaves out, gets in his car, drives down the street, gets pulled over, DUI. That's simple. That's simple. He's now in the system. Go deeper. This same man has a drug habit. When the police search him, they find an illegal substance in his pocket. So now he has DUI, drug charge. Now he's pushing to the system. The same family now has to put up money that they don't have in order to get him a lawyer and fight this case. Let's say they can't afford a lawyer, public defender. The public defender asks this man to plead out. He takes a plea. Now he's in the system. A working father who was frustrated, started drinking, using drugs. Now he's in the system and labeled a drug offender. Now his family can receive, because he's gone, his family can receive benefits from the state. Fast forward, he only did a year, maybe 2 years. He's out, he comes home. He can't come to that house because if he goes to the house and uses the address, the state he has to be registered through the state because he's on parole or probation. Now the family loses benefits. So now you have a family who was doing fine when he was gone. Now the wife doesn't want him back into their home because it will destroy something that was created in his absence. You know, in Georgia it's called WIC, the WIC program, Women, Infant, Children. That's what WIC stands for. So I say all this to say this. Criminal reform it's only a small part of the complete picture, because the state of Georgia and many other states have implemented laws that wants to separate the family. So above criminal reform, we need the government to reinstate or create programs that are going to help the family benefiting for staying one. So, and I apologize if I'm getting off topic, but criminal reform and the criminal justice system is tied into the separation of the family. And the separation of the family in all essence is why I believe that we as a people are in the situation that we're in. You know, years ago, like I say, I'm 44. When I was a child, it was normal to see a grandmother, grandfather, mom, dad, aunts, uncles. We constantly did things together as a family. We had a tribal mentality, but now there's so much separation. And a lot of that deals with the type of information we intake. Social media plays a part in that. Movies, music. That's a whole nother conversation, but it all ties in because these things that we're ingesting into ourselves mentally, they are creating a certain mentality and a way of thinking. Nowadays, it's acceptable for a young man to be perceived as a gangster. It's almost okay, which in reality we know it's not. But a lot of people accept these images. My son has locks, and when he first got his locks, I was afraid because I didn't want him to look. He didn't want him to look like a gangster. However, my son, AB student, in ninth grade, he's in ninth grade now, AB student, football player, he even has a job. And he is nothing like a lot of individuals that he goes to school with. And that's partly because he has a mother and a father who are active in his life. His mother and I are together, my wife. We also have a daughter, and we are active parents. We celebrate our children. In a lot of situations, these children are not celebrated. They can't look in the stand and see a mother or a father. They're doing things on their own. They don't have proper guidance. And taking it all the way back to the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system thrives off of broken families. And most of us come from broken families. If not broken, fractured. A lot of us come from neighborhoods that once upon a time may have been great places to stay, but over years they deteriorated. The type of people there, where I grew up at, I knew everybody from generations, 3 to 4 generations back. My grandma stayed here, my uncle stayed there, my auntie stayed there. It was like generations, and up until a certain point, it always stayed tight. People always loved one another. But nowadays, where I could be walking the block and doing something wrong, and Miss Pat down the street might see me and be like, "Come here." She would, punish me for what I was doing, and then once I get home, I'm gonna get a double punishment, whatever it was, because the community was so tight. There really was a community, and at the end of the community, you see the word unity. But now people have a mentality where we're from the same neighborhood, but we're not neighbors. All of this deals with the criminal justice system, because once we get the mentality where we're not neighbors, we're not communing, we're not one, we start looking at each other as enemies. We begin acting a certain way, and the criminal justice system thrives off all of this. So I say that to say I think the criminal justice system needs reform, because the criminal justice system is only there as a safety net to line the pockets of the big business. because as you know, the prison systems is a large billion-dollar business. Prisons are always being built. Prisons are always being added on to. In Georgia, it's the saying, you come on vacation and you leave on probation, because Georgia has a prison in every county in Georgia, whether it be a prison, a detention center, a juvenile facility, a halfway house. They have some kind of correctional facility in every county, and it's really sad because they thrive off filling these prisons, keeping these prisons filled. They get paid X amount of dollars for each inmate that's in these facilities. Some of these facilities are filled to capacity and over, so they're constantly getting money. They're constantly getting money, and the criminal reform or the criminal justice system is all based on the dollar. And opportunity is America's favorite word. The American economic system is based on supply and demand. The criminal justice system supplies the penal system with fresh bodies daily. And I'm not pointing a finger at anybody, because we're doing it to ourselves, because we don't allow ourselves to be educated properly. But our music, our movies, the things we accept, social media, all of these things are fueling an image of what people of color look like, what we should do. I remember a few years ago, my son came home, crying. And he was like, some of the students were making fun of him because he has a dad. And I had to tell him, I'm like, well, son, everybody has a dad, whether he's present or not. Every man or woman who was born had a father. I had to explain to him not to feel bad because he has a mother and a father in his life. So above the criminal justice system being reformed, I think the all around bigger picture of recreating and restructuring our families and our neighborhoods, that's the cornerstone of us building and being successful, because we have to build strong individuals. Strong individuals have to link with other strong individuals, and those individuals have to create strong families. Strong families create strong neighbors. Strong neighbors create strong neighborhoods. Strong neighborhoods create stronger communities. Stronger communities create stronger cities. Stronger cities create stronger states. Stronger states create stronger regions. Stronger regions create stronger nations. And stronger nations create a stronger world. So, in closing, I believe that the criminal justice system does need to be reformed. I believe that reform starts with each individual. Because when I came home from prison, I didn't have the basic skills in order for me to even fill out an application for a job, for housing, for assistance. And I was blessed with people around me who wanted to see me prosper and see me rise above my shortcomings. So I was blessed with people around me. So with criminal reform, I think we need to continue to create programs and opportunities that will not only prevent our people from being incarcerated, but the ones that are incarcerated, prevent them from staying in that revolving door. I pray that I answered all the questions correctly or to a proper standard. And as you can tell, I'm a little nervous. I had to take me some notes. But thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I hope and pray that we can talk more. And I wait patiently for your decision, and I definitely would like to be a part of the program. Thank you for giving me a chance, and thank you for hearing me out. And I hope to hear from you soon. Again, this is Demarcus Jones, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.